So hello and welcome to the first ever dCommerce community meetup, a look into Boson Protocol. It's an absolute honor to be here with such an esteemed cast, and also to all of you tuning in from home or wherever in the world you are. Thank you so much for joining us. It's greatly appreciated. And we're going to be running these as a series of events and getting various speakers from Boson Protocol and elsewhere within the dCommerce ecosystem to come and join us over the coming weeks and months. So joining us today, we have Holly Atkinson. She is head of Metaverse Technology, and she will be demonstrating in-game digital to physical transactions.
Hello.
Hello. And then I actually have to admit, Holly, I had your job title written down as head of community, but that's mine. Nearly had a mix up there. And then also we have Heather Swope, a blockchain engineer with us, and Ludovic Levalleux, who is one of our tech leads, and they will be doing a demo showcasing the solution to sell physical goods across different blockchains through a mechanism to transfer a given quantity of an ERC1155 token from a low to a high demand chain, which should be super interesting. We had a sneak peek today in the all hands meeting, so very much looking forward to this one. And then of course we have Justin Banon, our co-founder of Boson Protocol, and he will be showing the much anticipated roadmap presentation. We've been asked for this a few times through the community. So yeah, very much looking forward to seeing that one. I'm not sure why I was given 10 minutes to make these introductions, but if we're happy to proceed, and Holly, you're ready, we can jump straight into the action.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you all if you wouldn't mind muting and going off cam, because I'm going to share a video shortly. So you may or may not know about what Boson Protocol is, but we are building an open tokenized economy for commerce, focused on trust minimized digital to physical transactions. And a bit of context for the demo I'm about to show. We have a booming virtual economy with huge opportunities for brand partnerships for game developers, and in particular, new types of opportunities for connecting in-game assets or collectibles with real-world items or services. And I think particularly in the context of the pandemic, we've seen a huge draw to blockchain games and games in general. And off the back of this, there's a clear need for trust minimized physical delivery. Boson Protocol's NFTs, called commitment tokens, can be redeemed for physical items using automated escrow and game theory behind the scenes, together with behavioral economics, to ensure minimal need for human intervention and to remove highly extractionary intermediaries. What does this all mean? I'm going to show you in a video that we've made in partnership with Crucible, where we've integrated in-game, and today's demo is going to showcase digital to physical in the metaverse. I'm just going to share my screen now. Okay, so here you can see an example store environment built on the Unreal Engine, with Crucible pioneering this avatar layer. So this store that Crucible has built in the demo environment is effectively a set of modular components that can be dropped in-game at engine level to allow avatars to enter the metaverse and have a branded shopping experience in world. Just like you would in real life, you'd browse a store and look at all of the products in there. And this same sort of technology, these modular components, could be replicated across multiple engines and multiple metaverses. And this is where Boson is really key, as we effectively provide this bridge from the metaverse to the universe to empower gamers, game creators, and brands as a result of the new value flows coming from peer-to-peer digital to physical exchange. So I've just paused it because now we're going to see how our avatar here can walk up to those different items. So the avatar here has approached a mannequin wearing the Parker jacket made by the fabricant in collaboration with Carly Kloss and Adidas. So this is a perfect representation of the experience and supply chain that will actually connect real world brands with in-game experiences. So our player now can hit buy, And in doing that, they're purchasing a commitment token that can be seen in their inventory and redeemed for the real world version of the same parka jacket. And you can see here on this screen that the player can view all of their purchased items together in their inventory. And as we build this out, they'll be able to actually see the 3D models of these items on their avatar. And in selecting the inventory item, they can see further details of their purchase and how they can redeem the physical version. So our first demo, our first integration with Crucible is focused on the in-store collection journey. And that means a player can use what we call the click and collect model to go to a physical location, to go to a store and ask to collect the item that they've purchased. Going back to the screen here, you can see there's a redeem button, and the player can therefore choose to start their redemption journey by selecting redeem, and this will bring up a QR code. So what we have is effectively a mobile app that Crucible has pioneered, and this will have the items in the inventory in the same way. So we can see here, going into my collection, the items listed in the mobile app, and again you see the redeem, and you can see that it says physical item voucher with the QR code unredeemed. Now the seller, let's assume they have a tablet where they're able to see all of their items for sale. They can see their whole collection. They can see this Carly cloth with Adidas parka jacket. They can see that some of them have been what we call committed and redeemed, which means they've been picked up already. And you can see also that they have some that have been committed but not yet collected. So the seller is able to then scan the buyer's QR code with their iPad, and they can see the item specific details here. And they're able to say, yes, indeed, this player has purchased the item, and the payment amount and deposits were held in the Boson escrow. So the player, they're happy, they've hit confirm, and this shows them a signed redemption message here. So physical redemption in process. You may not close this window. You'll receive a notification when redemption is complete. And when they hit confirm, this has effectively shown that the redemption has been signed. And after that, the store clerk can see a message confirming that the buyer's commitment token has been redeemed and the payment amount has been transferred to the seller's account. So we've just seen now the 0.1 ETH move over, and the seller at this point is going to hand the item over to the buyer. So the player from the game has gone through the entire sales process now. They've been in the store, they've confirmed that they're happy, they're holding their item, and they have paid and the seller has received their funds. This actually then triggers a wait period. And after the wait period has ended, the deposits that have been held in the Boson escrow, they are released. So you can see now the 0.02 ETH has gone back to the buyer, and the 0.01 ETH has gone back to the seller following the happy path here. And the buyer has received the notification for their deposits being returned. So this completes our journey through this demo of Metaverse to physical redemption. It's a very, very quick run through of our transaction process. I hope it gives you a good feel for the sorts of integrations that we at Boson can do in the metaverse. Super exciting. It's the first of many, and we're going to hear more about that from Justin in a little bit.
Thank you so much, Holly. That was awesome. I love watching that demo every time. It's so good. Do we have any questions from the viewers watching? We're actually, for the first time, I think, in Crowdcast or Meetup history, running ahead of schedule. So if there are any questions, then please pop them in the chat. Otherwise, we will move on very shortly to the, here we go, there's a question. Have we considered the layer that this exchange will happen on? Even Apple stores get Wi-Fi stress, so considering the need for a blockchain interchange in a universe environment could be a challenge, or am I way ahead of myself? From Nick T.
Okay, it is a very relevant question, and obviously in the context of Boson Protocol starting as an Ethereum-based blockchain protocol, we need to think about mainnet constraints. We are obviously looking, as a result of that, at scaling strategies. The ultimate vision is for Boson to be interoperable. And for that, of course, we'll have to think about further needs to reduce stress, particularly when there are, and there will be, a huge number of transactions going through. You're on mute, Alastair.
There we go. Apologies about that. What happens if you want to return an item? Do you follow the happy path in reverse? Or sorry, we can go to Nonstop Theo before that if you want to field that question, or we can divert that to Justin a bit later on.
At a high level, I've just shown you the happy path. There are other aspects to the overall game tree that we have. I really recommend, if you're interested in the details of this, going and looking at our doc site. If you Google Boson Protocol, it comes up right at the top and there'll be a link to the docs. But Alastair, I'm sure you know the link off by heart. There are unhappy paths, and if the players do not behave in the best way, they will have their deposit slashed. But yeah, I definitely think Justin can elaborate on this if we have time.
Awesome, thanks very much. There's a question that's come into the Q&A box, which is, will the dCommerce platform be built exclusively as a metaverse-based protocol? Is there any development around a platform similar to existing e-commerce so that users with lower computing power can use Boson Protocol?
Absolutely. So the metaverse and in-game integrations, that's just one part of where we see Boson Protocol ultimately being used.
Excellent. And from Juan, are you thinking about migration to other blockchain networks like Polkadot to reduce the fees? Although this may be being covered very shortly. Let's
hear from Ludo and Heather on that. I think that's an exciting question.
Excellent. And I think we'll squeeze one more in here. If the platform mints the NFT art, will the art appear as having been generated by the artist, the platform, or both?
So that's a really interesting question. So what Boson Protocol is doing behind the scenes is it's using some custom NFTs that are actually separate from any other NFT. So in this case, we've seen an NFT that represents a digital item, but it isn't the same as the digital item itself. We are in alternative use cases looking at this exact example where the Boson NFT could be the same thing as a digital NFT. But what we're seeing currently is that there is very much an existing market for digital art NFTs together with physical counterparts. And we're looking at the best way to work with what's there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Holly. Really, really appreciate that. And I hope everyone watching enjoyed it as much as we have in various demos that we've seen internally. So yeah, thank you so much. Up next,
thank you.
We have Heather and Ludovic joining us. Please pop your microphones and cameras on, please.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Heather. Again, I'm one of the blockchain engineers at Boson Protocol. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about some kind of adventures in scaling that we've been doing recently, some kind of exploration into that. From April 16th to May 9th, a few of my colleagues and I, including Ludo, participated in the Scaling Ethereum Hackathon that was organized by ETH Global. The focus on the hackathon was to look into and to explore different scaling solutions, or L2, layer 2 solutions for projects that run on Ethereum. It was sponsored by several producers of layer 2 solutions, such as Chainlink, Polygon, Arbitrum, Optimism, Scale, Starkware, and several more. And we actually won 2 prizes in this hackathon. We won a prize from Chainlink and a prize from Polygon because we used their products in our submission and they liked them. So we won some prizes from them. And our submission, everyone had to submit a video. And of course we had a GitHub repo as well, but the official submission was a video. So I'm going to show you that video in just a moment. But just to give you an idea, we were looking at how we could control inventory of voucher set, which is one of the main components of Boson Protocol across multiple chains in a gas efficient manner. So now I'm going to show you the video that we submitted. And if you have any questions, then Ludo or I will answer them afterwards. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Heather Swope from Boson Protocol. My teammates are Ludovic Levalleux, Ali Azam, and Gregor Barossa. Boson Protocol is building an open tokenized economy for decentralized commerce focused on trust-minimized transactions. Boson Protocol uses NFTs encoded with game theory to allow digital to physical redemptions. A seller creates an offer that is represented by a voucher set implementing the ERC 1155 standard, where the balance matches the available supply of the items for sale. Each time a buyer commits to the offer, an ERC 1155 is burnt and a more classical ERC 721 is minted and transferred to the buyer's account. The ERC 721 represents the committed voucher. The biggest problem that everyone knows about Ethereum is that the gas costs have skyrocketed. This could be a barrier to enter the dCommerce world for buyers and sellers. We'd like to make it easier for sellers and buyers to interact with the protocol in a gas-efficient manner. We want to allow sellers to make an offer, that is, create a voucher set, directly on multiple L2 chains. If the seller has a quantity of 10 items, he could say, I want to sell 5 on Polygon and another 5 on Arbitrum. In that way, the buyers can actually choose on which L2 chain they want to buy. The reason they would do this is because some people are more familiar with one L2 chain than another. They might be more comfortable using Polygon or Arbitrum, depending on their experience, or depending on which chain they own tokens to pay the gas. The problem is that if there are more purchases on one L2 chain than the other, it would lead to reduced supply quantity on one chain and a high supply quantity on the other, and vice versa. So the protocol should offer a mechanism to balance the available supply of items between the chains, depending on the demand. That's what we have built for the hackathon. The solution is using 2 L2 chains, Polygon Mumbai and Arbitrum Testnet, where we have deployed the Boson Protocol contracts. In order to interconnect these 2 chains, we have deployed Chainlink nodes, one on each chain, each coupled with a Chainlink external initiator.
For the purpose of the demo, the Arbitrum chain has been replaced with the Gurley testnet because we had a few problems when transacting on Arbitrum that could not be fixed on time. So we have the Boson protocol deployed on 2 chains, Polygon and Gurley. A seller has created an offer on both chains with a quantity of 5 on each, and 3 buyers have already committed a voucher using Polygon so that the available quantity on Polygon is now 2, whereas 5 remain on Gurley. Now, a buyer will buy 1 item again on Polygon. The supply quantity on Polygon is now only 1, and the availability on the other chain is still high. Then the balancing mechanism is happening. Here are the events raised by the local Oracle contract on Mumbai. The last one raises the Help Me event that triggers the jobs on the Chainlink node connected to Gurley. On the Chainlink node interface, we see the job activation triggered by the event raised by the local Oracle contract. Going back to the contract's events, we see this new one raised after the Chainlink node on Mumbai has called the contract to notify it can increase the supply quantity of the item for sale by a value of 3. In the end, the available quantity on Polygon is moved from 1 to 4 and the one on Gurley from 5 to 2. As a conclusion, our balancing mechanism moves the supply quantity to the chain that has more demand, without compromising strict inventory management at global level. This hackathon has been a rich opportunity for the team to learn more about the L2 chains.
Thank you for your attention.
Okay, so that is an explanation of kind of some of the explorations we've done on L2 scaling. So I don't know if there are any questions people would like to ask.
Question for now.
It seems that a lot of people are just kind of in shock and awe of how awesome it is.
It's a very technical presentation. We know that, but it's been done for the hackathon. There is no front end. There is no user experience in that. But just to explain how we can manage the inventory when deploying offers on different chains to provide a solution with the gas fees that is really, really high on Ethereum mainnet at the moment.
Absolutely.
So we have a question.
There is
yes,
well, there's a comment about Chainlink and how did we come up with the idea?
For moving, yes, Connext. That's a very interesting question because we just started by thinking, looking at Connext solution to transfer liquidity from one chain to another, but that works very well for most of the tokens you can use for DeFi's, and because you have a lot of liquidities for this token, and it's ERC20 tokens. In our case, it's the quantity of the offer is not exactly an ERC20 token. It's different. It's ERC 1155, so it's not really supported in that way with Connext, and we've tried to imagine a solution where the quantity would be managed by an ERC20, but we couldn't find really a solution for having this working with Connext, because you need the liquidity. So you can't just create an ERC20 and just say, oh, I will transfer it with Connext, because you need liquidity provider for this ERC20, and that was the reason why we moved to another way, and the other way is using Chainlink to create the interaction between both chains.
We've got a question in the Q&A panel here from Santiago Gonzalez. What was the main reason that made you decide on using Chainlink for moving liquidity cross-chain? Would be interesting exploring using Connext. Have you heard of Connext, and what was the decision-making process with Chainlink?
Yeah, just answer this question. Sorry.
Yeah, that was the one that Ludo was just talking about.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought that was how did you come up with that? Great use of link. They are very, very similar questions.
But we have another question now.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, there is a question about, is it easily scalable from 2 chains to X? And now that one could be a bit tricky. I don't know, Ludo, do you want to talk to more about how? Yeah, that one would be a bit trickier to scale between from 2 to multiple chains. So that would be something that we'd have to investigate how to do that. But
yes, of course. We've got with Chainlink, we have one-to-one connection between one chain and another in both directions. So yeah, it could be scaled to 3 or 4, but it's become more and more complicated. So we could imagine like a hub system, but we should provide a decentralized solution for this hub. So yes, it's quite more complicated. But I think the interoperability between blockchains is really a topic that a lot of people in the ecosystems are looking at, and we completely follow that. Because we are sure that there are lots of applications for Boson Protocol, but also for lots of protocol in the blockchain ecosystem.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. There's a couple of questions there that I think we can sort of do a group Q&A at the end, relating to burning of the NFTs and building, like, where you can build a blockchain game, retail metaverse, and who you can get in touch with. We can certainly answer those questions offline, and we can do a sort of a whole Q&A at the end. As I say, I'm sure there'll be questions that come up throughout all of the talks that everyone wants to kind of chime in on, and it looks like we're going to have a bit of time for that as well. So thank you very much for that very insightful demonstration of using Chainlink for cross-chain interoperability. It's going to be very, very important moving forwards. Cool. Justin, are you with us and ready to go?
With you, I'm born ready, Alastair, you know that.
Excellent. Well, the much anticipated Boson Protocol roadmap demonstration unveiling. Over to you, Justin.
Thank you. Okay, hi everyone. So just wanted to give you a bit of a sneak preview of our roadmap ahead. I have been very tightly briefed by marketing not to do my usual blurting of our plans before they get properly announced. We've got so much going on though that I may tread on the odd landmine and give away more than I'm supposed to. So apologies to marketing in advance for that. So what I'm going to go through is, where we are now, talk about some of these amazing developments in protocol development, what our growth strategy is, and then talk about this term that you may have heard bandied around, Metaverse Commerce, also rewards, and how we're expanding our development efforts into the community. So firstly, let's go through the original core problem that Boson it aims to solve, and that is that smart contracts are really disconnected from real world commerce. What do we mean by that? Well, if you take real world data, it's a very well known problem that smart contracts cannot trust real world data sources. If you for an example is, if you had a smart contract that was going to pay out 1,000 DAI, let's say, basically, if Manchester United won the Champions League, well, if you were to feed that smart contract with that, that information, and that wasn't true, you could get the smart contract to pay out. So that's a very well-known Oracle problem. But a less well-known one is that smart contracts can't trust these sort of real-world asset exchanges. So if I buy a token that represents a claim on a physical asset, great, I can buy that token, but how do I actually get the physical asset? How do we get this sort of this enforcement? And this is another sort of Oracle problem, a physical asset Oracle problem, and that's the problem that Boson solves. So as I said, the data oracles easily connect smart contracts to these data sources, and we've seen this sort of proliferation of the use of oracles to really make sure that the data, the information that smart contracts kind of base their logic on is is sound. And Boson Protocol aims at this real world asset oracle problems. Now we do have we do have some early blockchain protocol designs that seek to enable the exchange of digital value for real world assets. So, you know, examples such as sort of open bazaar, etc. But again, they tend to rely on arbitration, so an escrow that is managed by humans, which, you know, of course, just adds back lots of cost and friction, kind of defeating the point of using a technology like blockchain at all. So what Boson Protocol is designed to do is really kind of connect smart contracts to real world commerce in a way that they can execute real world commerce transactions and also receive this sort of secure customer feedback data. But to do this in an automated way, a way that minimizes the need for human intervention. So, you know, human arbitration and dispute resolution is instead, you know, automated using game theory, giving, you know, meaning that the process is trust minimized, no intermediaries, and also cost minimized, not having to incur the cost of this human intervention. And that's why we called it sort of decentralized autonomous commerce. So this is where we began with Boson Protocol. However, we have had some pretty significant shifts and developments. So we brought in, as you know, the original designs were by myself and my co-founder, and took us a long way down the path to enabling this digital to physical redemption. However, you know, as we scaled the team, we brought in some real absolute experts. I mean, we've got Dr. Akaki Mamagashvili, who's, you know, one of the world's top algorithmic game theorists. We've got Dr. Zeynep Gürçük, who is one of the world's top sort of behavioral crypto economics experts. We have Aditya Askangoa, who's one of the researchers working on Ethereum 2, who's coming with mechanism design. And we're also, you know, we've also now got some incredible kind of smart contract engineers all working on this problem. And what we have developed is something far more powerful, something far more generic than just enabling digital to physical exchange. What we have, you know, developed is a decentralized exchange for anything, and I'll explain what that means. So what we've done is completely deconstruct that original design, the original game theory, to make this a generic exchange mechanism. So an exchange mechanism that, instead of exchanging digital value for a physical asset, product or service, is now generic in that it exchanges digital value for any online, on-chain, or sort of off-chain physical thing. So literally anything. And it does that using this generic design, but always representing any one of these sort of on-chain, off-chain, or physical things as a common interoperable format. So imagine, you know, imagine going to see a sports game, and you can, you know, you've got your ticket for the sports game. You can get a physical, I don't know, item like a gift or a trophy or a shirt. You can also then go back home, and you forevermore you can rewatch the game because you've got access rights to a digital download. All of these things in kind of composable, bundleable, common tokenized format. So that's, you know, that's what this exchange mechanism delivers. But also, the actual structure of the exchange mechanism has moved from being fixed, as it is in our white paper, to being configurable. So what it means is that although you can use our actual kind of core exchange mechanism and game theory, equally that can be modified. That can be modified for different classes of transactions, where you may want to sort of lean towards one side or the other of a trade-off. So for low value transactions, you may want, you know, a bit more risk, but less, you know, more risk perhaps, at the, you know, and but more efficiency. But for higher value or more transactions that are more prone to misbehavior, you may have an exchange mechanism that is more robust. And also, so, you know, if you look at these three stages, you've got this product offering that's now being sort of externalized from the protocol via an interface. That means it can be any, you know, it can be physical, it can be you know, digital off-chain or digital on-chain. And as I mentioned, we have a guy by the name of Aditya. We actually found Aditya because he'd previously written an academic paper that was very similar to our dual escrow for physical. He'd written a paper for dual escrow for digital. As I said, it happens to be one of the Ethereum 2, you know, kind of core researchers, and you know, he's come in, and we've really kind of merged these two sets of context. And then you get to the next stage, which is setting the stakes. And again, within our original protocol design, this was built in. It was kind of hard coded. Now we have this again externalized through an interface where the stakes, the game theory, can be varied, all whilst keeping this kind of commonality to the core voucher mechanism. But that you can have a different rule set. It's dynamically, you know, created, you know, for your exchange. And then again, the terms of the delivery within the original Boson white paper, we had hard coded that you had a redemption, you signed transaction for redemption, etc. Now these delivery terms, they can be any, you know, an agreed upon message or an agreed upon, you know, set of terms that, you know, the protocol can be configured to accept as delivery. So this gives us huge extensibility in terms of whether that is we're accepting to, you know, delivery in terms of it could be a courier, it could be a redemption signature, it could be anything, making it completely extensible. And then we go back through the same phases of commitment, delivery, reconciliation. And the whole point of the game theory is it minimizes the need for human intervention. But eventually, there is the possibility of this sort of escalated arbitration or dispute resolution. But if, you know, the more effective the game theory is, the less often that has to be used, and the mere presence of human dispute resolution blocks a whole host of game theoretic attacks earlier down the chain. So in terms of protocol development, then version 1, as we've explained, is very much based on the white paper specification. It does a great job of digital to physical transfers, but it's fixed. It's not, you know, without a smart contract change, it's not configurable. That's been deployed to testnet. We have a reference app which is about to be released, and you know, it's something that developers can play with and get familiar with. Then version 1 is Metaverse Commerce. So our strategy, which I'll sort of come on to, is really focusing on a niche that we can really kind of own as a protocol and become the kind of the de facto infrastructure. And that niche for us is what we're calling Metaverse Commerce. It's basically commerce that's Web3 and Web3 to physical. And as I'll go into a little bit later, this is very much based on in-game and to in-store redemption. So in-world and in-game. So as Holly showed in her demo, we're going to have these really cool interfaces and experiences where people can go and buy things, physical items as Boson NFTs in game and in world, and then be able to go and redeem them in store. And this we call Metaverse Commerce. And then we move on to V2, which is this implementation of this generic exchange mechanism where it's physical, it's digital, it's on-chain items, all of the same, with a whole host of other additions. For example, the ability for these items to be represented as special ERC20s that flow over DeFi, and a whole host of incredible developments, which all kind of tie into this project Multiverse. So that's the general progression of the protocol. And what I would say is, you know, the design phase is really kind of, you know, more or less complete in terms of this kind of, you know, design of the protocol. And now we just kind of can build to an accelerated rate. So this is sort of a preview of the reference app and the sort of interfaces that you know that we've developed for, you know, developers to pick up and embed within their own experiences, and we will also be embedding within the MetaMol application that we're building. I'll talk a bit more about in a second. So this is the sort of user interface that surfaces the game theory, but in a very slick and familiar sort of user interface. Okay, so in terms of our growth and go-to-market strategy, as I mentioned previously, we're focusing initially very much on Web3, so Metaverse Commerce, enabling this sort of Web3 digital to in-store, and that real kind of focus, it gives us this beachhead, this niche that we can really become the, you know, the kind of dominant player in. And then what we will be doing as we're building out not just the core protocol, but there are lots of other core components that are needed to connect into the current e-commerce system, and also to sort of start disrupting and displacing that. So things such as identity, I mentioned, sort of escalated dispute, price discovery on, for example, representing these items in the same sort of way that you've got this Unisocks, having that generalized Unisocks where you've got ERC20s representing these real world items that are kind of, you know, traded on bonding curves, on Balancer, etc. Plugging into credit, using, you know, partnerships with the likes of Centrifuge to enable decentralized credit for these vouchers. Data, we have you know, a partnership and integration with Ocean Protocol, and then also insurance, insuring some of these items, etc. And then right at the core here, as I mentioned, is this kind of developing the core elements of the protocol. And then the final vision then is really replacing, disrupting the whole e-commerce ecosystem. But the aim is here is not to replace you know, these centralized whales, e-commerce whales like Amazon and Alibaba, with a decentralized one. The aim is for us to foster an ecosystem. So we aim to be to dCommerce what stable coins are to DeFi. We're a platform upon which a lot of other composable elements are built, and that's why, you know, we've a number of announcements over the next week or so about more grants and funding for some of these early dCommerce players that we're bringing in here. So yeah, a bit more about Metaverse Commerce. It's the first stage. It's our beachhead. It's our niche. And we're going to make, you know, we're going to make it amazing. The aim is to have a sort of a MetaMol or a space where there is commerce and innovation and events and amazing things, and to have that space in every world, in Decentraland, Crypto Voxels, Somnium Space, the Sandbox, in every world and every game, to have a MetaMol, a place where you can buy initially physical items, eventually any, you know, as I mentioned, physical, digital on-chain items in a way that's minimally extractive. We're not a middleman. We are, like an internet for commerce. And the concept being you can wander around in, let's say, Decentraland, have these amazing quests, have amazing experiences, buy something, collect in store, or have it delivered in the real world. And likewise, in a game, you could play a game, you could beat a boss or get to a certain level and have the right to buy special items. And they're not just digital items; they could be paired with digital items, but you also get these kind of physicals. Starting out with these like rare collectible physicals with some incredible collaborations that we're about to announce. But the key also is this thing is going to be incredibly cool. We're working, we've got some of the smartest people in the NFT metaverse space working for us, and some incredible kind of like fashion gurus working for us. This is going to be super exciting, and all using Boson technology. And then the Boson Guardians program. So, my background, I spent about 10 or 12 years building a sort of a rewards loyalty program or group of programs called the Priority Pass Group. I built that up to about $1 billion turnover group. So my background is, massively in loyalty and rewards. And we'll be building out a metaverse native loyalty program, and the Boson Guardians, so our holders of Boson tokens, will be granted these a special tier of this program, and given all sorts of privilege from product drops, exclusive events, privileges in digital and physical, and these kind of super high tier within the MetaMalls. So this again is going to be a super exciting, super cool product that we will be launching, and of course the rewards will be redeemed using Boson Protocol. And then finally, we're moving from being really designing some of these core internal components and doing that in a very, very focused inward way, to reaching out to the community and leveraging collective intelligence and our community to solve this huge problem of how do we decentralize commerce. So starting with, we have a token engineer, a collaboration with the Token Engineering Academy, which is running at the moment, where we are doing a dCommerce course, training course, where you learn the essentials of decentralized commerce and also token engineering, where we're looking to fuse Web3 talent with e-commerce talent to create this decentralized commerce talent. And the aim there is to build out that category, build out that community, and work together to discover what are the problems, and then look at the solutions, and look at potential solutions, and then we'll have bounties for specifying solutions, and then further grants to develop them, and then also doing a track on the Outlier Ventures Basecamp Accelerator, funding a dCommerce track to take some of those projects through to full implementation. So here are all the channels. Discord, which is a great one for deeper conversations. So yeah, with the token sale successfully concluded, we've just had our heads down building, recruiting, and over the coming weeks and months, I'm going to be really excited to share with you, or in fact have our incredible team share with you these amazing fundamental breakthroughs in blockchain technology, but also these really cool applications that are going to bring sort of in-world and in-game to in-store on the high street.
That was sorry, excuse me. That was fantastic, Justin. Thank you so much for that. we've had quite a few questions come in, and we've
Yeah, happy
still
to
got some-
answer any of the tricky game theory ones as well.
Funny you say that. There was a game theory question there, which I believe was why. Hold on, I'll click start answering now. Why do the buyer and seller need to deposit a small amount of ETH and get this deposit back at the end?
They don't need to, is the answer, but there's an option for them to. If the buyer and seller make no deposit, then what happens is that the buyer says, I like that product, I would like to buy it. Let me put my money into the smart contract. Let's say they put, $100 worth of ETH into the smart contract. But then if the buyer decides to cancel, he can just cancel and withdraw his money with no penalty. So there's no obligation on the part of the seller to provide it. The buyer could turn up and the seller says, I haven't got any stock, and the buyer, okay, well, that's it. Or the seller or the buyer could hit refund and get his money back, and that's it. There's no commitment either side. And for certain transactions, that might be okay. In the same way that you can go and book a restaurant, just an average restaurant table, and you just phone up and book, and if you don't show, then whatever. But if you go and book an expensive restaurant and that restaurant's reserved a table at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, they want a bit more comfort, a bit more to know that you've got some skin in the game to turn up, and that's why they might ask you for, okay, can you put $100 deposit down, which is a no-show deposit. Ours is a similar game where you can set those levels that put commitments on the part of the seller to deliver the product to you to an agreed upon level of quality, and a commitment on the part of the buyer to go through with the transaction, right? Otherwise, we're just locking up some money with no commitment that the transaction will ever happen. And what we're trying to do is, without an intermediary, create some game that incentivizes buyer and seller to go through with a transaction to an agreed upon level of quality. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Justin.
As a warm up for I've got my game theory session after this, so.
Well, the next question, I think it's fairly similar, and you probably covered a lot of it, but please, can you elaborate how game theory plays in this protocol?
Yeah, as I said, I mean, the current protocol uses a sequential game, which, I mean, at the time I developed it, I didn't realize there was a whole branch of game theory that dealt with this. I mean, our Dr. Akaki informed me that that's what we'd stumbled upon. But essentially, it's a type of sequential game where, as I said, if you think about, booking a restaurant table, and when you're asked to put down $100 deposit, it improves the outcome for the restaurant in terms of reducing the number of no-shows, right? It creates an incentive for people to turn up, and it compensates the restaurant if you don't. And so that's an example of a sequential game with one rule and one deposit. Ours is a sequential game with a more complex set of rules and two deposits. And it's elaborated in the white paper, and also in our developer documents as well,
which we will be sharing the links of very shortly. I think we've got time for one more question, and then I can answer a few of the others. What do you see being Boson's #1 challenge to getting to phase 2 and 3?
Well, I mean, scalability, I think, is one of the challenges of all sort of blockchain projects at the moment. And as you can see, we've got an incredible team working on that. And so, I think that's a problem that will be solved for any network effects type project. Achieving adoption is always going to be the #1 challenge. And we're doing a number. I mean, network effects and platform theory and network effects business models has been kind of a bit of an obsession of mine for decades. In terms of studied it across 2 masters, built this $1 billion revenue platform, and that's what got me into blockchain. And so that's right at the heart of what we're doing. The reason why we're dominating this niche, it's a bit like Amazon first, when Amazon created this e-commerce category, it was tiny, and they were just selling books over a very, very poor performance internet. And we're taking this niche of Metaverse Commerce. We're going to become the sort of de facto kind of connector between Metaverse and the universe for commerce. And then we will break out of that area with all the relationships we have with brands, and using token powered network effects, cross this chasm to achieve adoption. So that is, other than getting the thing to work, getting adoption is the thing that any sort of entity such as ourselves needs to be really focused on, and we are.
Awesome. I've just seen Joshua Taylor's hashtag there, which Holly picked up on as well, hashtag NFX, network effects.
Yeah.
Big fan of that. There's another question here from Seema, which is, have you identified any potential competitors who might be working on the same idea? And this is something that we've covered in a few AMAs, and that they're...
Yeah, look, I mean, OpenBazaar, I guess, early competitor, but they're using a platform business model and we have this core algorithm, which we've just upgraded. Of course, everything will be open source closer to the time that we release it. But, OpenBazaar, Origin, I think, are doing a great job. But again, they're platform business models built on blockchain. And I think that business model is not sufficiently disruptive. We're doing a lot of research on how we can do token powered network effects and accelerate and really leverage DeFi and tokenization. And so there's first generation, and then there's a couple of people trying it, but it's a very, very hard problem. And we had a good initial design, but as our PhDs and experts have shown, it could be improved upon, and I'm the happiest person that they've improved upon my design. And so I think our core technology gives us a huge advantage, and we intend to use that advantage to the max.
Awesome. And I think we've got time for one more question, which is, will there ever be an option for buyers or sellers to kind of crowdfund their skin in the game deposit if they have a good reputation of fulfilling previous commitments? Or are there plans to integrate DeFi lending, thinking of smaller sellers with limited funds? Yes.
Before I did Boson, I did a joint venture where I oversaw a joint venture between MakerDAO, Centrifuge, and a project called Dex Freight, for tokenizing freight invoices as collateral for multi-collateral DAI. And we're in conversation with Centrifuge and a number of others. So absolutely, this generic protocol plugs in and leverages DeFi for lending, financialization, all sorts of crazy things, more crazy things than we can imagine, which is why we are externalizing that innovation to the community. And if you can come up with something sufficiently crazy that might work, the likelihood is we'll fund it, maybe take it take you through Basecamp, Outlier Ventures Basecamp, all the way to having a working protocol that interoperates with ours.
Fantastic. Well, I think that covers everything for all of the questions. If everyone could pop their cameras and microphones back on. Just want to say a big thank you to you all for joining us and the fantastic presentations, and to everyone that tuned in as well. That is the first ever dCommerce, the Genesis event, dCommerce Meetup. So please keep your eyes peeled for more information about future events and what's coming up. Make sure to follow us on social media. Ooh. there's a timer. Twitter.com/Boson Protocol, medium.com/Boson Protocol, and Telegram t.me/Boson Protocol. And joining the conversation, we've also posted up a link to our Discord channel, which we've been kind of keeping under wraps a little bit. So you'll be some of the first people in there. So please jump into Discord, say hello, and join the conversation there. But yeah, I think from all of us here at Boson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guys.